What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to take you guys through my team selection for the upcoming Game Week 20, as well as just going over some general talking points about the upcoming game week. What's more to say about Game Week 19 that hasn't been said? We'll be addressing all the kind of drama that happened with that Game Week 19 deadline coming up. I'm going to start off with that. I'm going to go over my Game Week 19 team review, see if the free hit actually activated, whether it did, whether it didn't, and what team we actually ended up with come that Game Week 19 deadline. Then I'm going to go over all the postponements that have currently happened for the upcoming game week. And the reason why I wanted to get this video out so early on this Monday is that as you're watching this video, probably less than 24 hours between now and that Game Week 20 deadline. So the Game Week 19 to Game Week 20 deadlines were basically separated by about 48 hours. So massive kind of turnaround between these two game weeks. And that's why I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible. And then we can lead into the deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline coming up tomorrow. So that's something you guys are interested in? Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So hashtag FPL crashed. If you guys did watch the deadline stream yesterday, maybe you were on another YouTuber stream or maybe just by yourself and you managed to lock in those transfers, all those chips, you were very lucky at the end of the day. The reason for this is that the FPL service actually crashed with about 2 minutes to go before the deadline. And as you guys know, all of us have basically been waiting to use those transfers, waiting as long as possible to get as much news as possible. And then what happens? I guess the service couldn't handle the load and unfortunately the website did go down. If you guys are one of those affected, I feel very sorry. That is a terrible situation to kind of be in. Planning for these hectic game weeks and for all of that planning to come to kind of a waste of time, all that thing. I really do understand the frustration that can come with that, and unfortunately FPL just has to maybe change this, use this as a learning step and maybe upgrade their servers or something. I guess all that we can do from now on is learn from this. I guess you have this every single season. I remember in previous seasons, prior seasons deadline streams where we have had the website crash. Luckily we have had those moves locked in, or at least when the deadline does come about, the servers are back up and the load is kind of sustainable. So I guess in the future, we will be making those transfers with about 5 minutes to go. And I do apologize if I was leading you guys a little bit late into the deadline. Honestly though, I did not know what I wanted to do. And I actually think I pressed that free hit chip as just as a little bit of panic. And I don't even know if I actually should have used it. I think the best way to get over some of these stories is just to share them in the comments down below. Let everyone see what actually happened and we can all kind of get over these problems together. I've seen some people with a Ronaldo, a Son on the bench. I've seen some people that have captained some really weird players. However, I have seen some kind of good stories that have come out of this. Some people have actually landed up better than they were the prior game week, and that's just because FPL is luck based after all. So if you're going to be captaining one player and they outperform another, that can happen in FPL, and I've seen some Tierney captains, some Lacazette captains, some Saka captains even by mistake. Those managers didn't even mean to captain them. Obviously they might claim it as a good FPL decision, but at the end of the day FPL is very luck based, and sometimes these decisions and these kind of crashes can actually play out in your favor. But just to end off this talking point, as I've said, really understand you guys' frustration if you were affected by this crash. And the only thing we can kind of do from this is move on from it, as it doesn't seem like FPL will be doing anything at all. I personally thought that they might come and say that the deadline was extended, or maybe they would give us some extra time or something like that to change your teams. They have been very silent about this whole crash, and I guess they're taking on that kind of university approach where if you didn't submit your report or your thesis an hour before the deadline and the website crashed a couple of minutes before, it's not really their problem, and that's a little bit annoying for me. So let me know in the comments down below how you guys were affected. Always like to see what's actually been happening with your guys' teams, and we can kind of, as I said, get through this together. But now going on to my Game Week 19 team, and the free hit chip was actually activated. If you guys did watch this stream, I activated the free hit, made the transfers, and then the website crashed when I confirmed them. So I was actually really worried that the moves didn't go through. I then went over to my application on my phone, and I did see that the free hit was activated, but the changes weren't kind of locked in. So I had Ronaldo on the bench, I had Human Son on the bench, I didn't have Ronaldo captain, I think I had someone else captain, but luckily we managed to confirm those moves on the application, and they did save. So whether the free hit was a good decision or not, it's yet to be seen. I'm going to wait for the games that are happening tonight. We still have David De Gea and then also Ronaldo, our captain. And if these two players do potentially do well, obviously Ronaldo a little bit more than De Gea because I already had him. But if Ronaldo bangs tonight, I definitely think the free hit will look like quite a good chip. So currently we have halved the rank. We're about just below that 38k, just above that 37k. So the free hit chip does look like it paid off. However, it's going to come to next game week 22, and we're potentially going to use the second one to actually see if if this was a good kind of FPL decision. But I will obviously update you guys in the deadline stream tomorrow or over my Twitter page where we managed to finish up after tonight's fixtures, as there still is quite a lot to play for with that CL7 captain. But going on to the bench here and what to do with the free hit on kind of a blank game week when postponements are happening, positive tests are happening, the best way is to go for 3 players that get 0 points at the end of the day. So Ben Johnson and Locadia didn't feature. Johnson I was a little bit surprised by because a lot of West Ham websites had predicted that he would start with maybe a Soufal, but that wasn't the case here, and Ben Johnson, unfortunately, I don't even know if he was actually in the squad for West Ham last night. But Locadia wasn't going to play at all even, and then we have the final player, Fernandez, obviously our second goalkeeper, but the final player was going to be Reece James that ended on 0 points. So luckily we didn't start Reece James and we had him on the bench, and honestly I think the only reason the free hit might actually pay off was because I owned Alonso and Reece James in my original team, and they ended up getting 0 and 1 point. So luckily the week I don't have them in my starting 11, they don't get a clean sheet, and I think that goal was actually a little bit unlucky for Reece James. I think it probably was the only big chance that Aston Villa managed to get, and it wasn't even a big chance, kind of a freak own goal there, can't really do anything about it, but we have fortunately profited from that own goal quite a bit. But now going on to the starting 11, and it was very similar to the free draft that I actually created last week. If you guys did watch that video, the GW19 free draft, but we did have some variation here. We did upgrade some of the other defenders. We downgraded Diaz, as I didn't really favor that Man City fixture, and also there was a massive amount of rumors of potential players being benched, not on the bus, that sort of thing. So I did downgrade Diaz, I brought in Reguilon, and then I also upgraded Ben White to Kieran Tierney. So that Kieran Tierney move actually paid off quite nicely, him getting a goal, and then also I think 1 bonus point with the clean sheet, taking him to a massive 13 points. Really happy that I did do that upgrade because I think Ben White only got 6 points at the end of the day. Reguilon managed to get a bonus point even though there was quite a few goal scorers for Spurs, but unfortunately Emerson did outperform Reguilon with picking up an assist, and I think he got 3 bonus points to Reguilon's 1. Our final defender though, João Cancelo, only with 4 points after massive rumors of him being potentially testing positive, then not in the squad. We still did keep on to him because I thought that the fixture was too good to kind of ignore, and therefore Cancelo did manage to get an assist, but no other attacking returns and no clean sheet unfortunately. So that Man City vs Leicester game was absolutely mental, ending 6-3. Not really great from a defensive point of view, but from an attacking point of view, great kind of options in that Man City lineup. Unfortunately, the one we went for, Bernardo Silva, didn't end up getting anything. So it's been a couple of game weeks now that Man City have actually scored a few goals, and Bernardo Silva hasn't been involved, even though he has been on the pitch playing about 90 minutes. So the reason we went for Bernardo Silva was that there were heavy rumors that Phil Foden was going to be benched for this Leicester game. Those rumors turned out to be true, and luckily Bernardo Silva did outperform Foden by 2 points. But still, at the end of the day, if you're scoring 6 goals, you expect the attacking player to at least get maybe an assist. But Bernardo Silva has regressed quite a lot to his stats, and therefore he's been on a little bit of a goal and assist drought over these past couple game weeks. Another unfortunate situation was going to be Martinelli only getting 3 points here. A player that's been on great form recently, started the game against Norwich as expected alongside Saka, but he didn't get any returns, with Odegaard outperforming him with I think 2 assists, and then Lacazette also getting a goal which was a penalty and also 1 assist. His teammate though was the high performer of this game week. It's going to be Saka from Arsenal at 2 goals and I think maximum bonus points if I remember correctly. So great kind of returns from young Saka, and I think he was a great option to kind of include on the free hit because I don't own him in my personal team. Actually in my personal team I do own Smith Rowe, again coming off the bench and scoring, and that's why there was a couple of players in my original team that actually ended up performing that I didn't include on my free hit, and therefore I think I might be quite close to calculate whether the free hit was actually the right strategy to go for. Jared Bowen also ending up with an assist, quite a lively Southampton West Ham game there, but he was a little bit underwhelming in this game week after only returning 1 assist even though West Ham scored 3 goals. I was expecting a little bit more out of Jared Bowen considering that he did start at that striker position for West Ham, and this will be quite interesting to see if I actually want to bring him in to my own FPL team. And then finally, we have the South Korean Heung-min Son, who I did manage to include on my free hit. I think a lot of people actually went for Son for Salah, and he returned 8 points. So we're kind of repaying those managers that took Salah out for Son. Whether that's going to pay off in the upcoming game week is yet to be seen, but Spurs do look like they've kind of kicked on under Conte and look to be in quite good form. His teammate Harry Kane also scoring his 3rd goal of the season. Luckily, Harry Kane and Son returning some points, even though they are quite expensive, and there were some other players that were cheaper than them that actually ended up returning as well. But nevertheless, we had massive value in this free hit without the Liverpool assets, and therefore Son and Kane returning was always going to be quite welcomed. So hopefully the Newcastle versus United game goes ahead today. Hopefully De Gea and Ronaldo both get hat-tricks each, and then I'll be quite a happy FPL manager because I do have a CR7 captain and De Gea in goal. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys used the free hit, how did it look? How's the chip kind of paying off? If you use free transfers, how are those hits kind of paying off? I want to see how you guys also are kind of getting on in Game Week 19. So now kind of shifting our attention to Game Week 20, and we have one postponement already. It's going to be the Arsenal game. I think they were taking on Wolves with the Wolves outbreak that also led their game to be cancelled against Watford on the weekend. So the Arsenal fixture has been postponed, and that's going to be quite a dilemma because a lot of us do own triple Arsenal assets at the current moment. Luckily for my own team, I do not own a goalkeeper, so I still own David De Gea instead of Ramsdale. So I will have a fixture in Game Week 20 for my goalkeeper, but it's quite a span in the works for those of you guys who do own triple Arsenal, including Ramsdale. Now, there will potentially be some more postponements coming up. I think the Leeds game has also been called off against Aston Villa, but you guys can also get some more updates over on Twitter, and I'll update you guys constantly. But the deadline stream is tomorrow, so if you want to get the most up-to-date news as possible, make sure you guys check me out 1 hour before the deadline on this channel. But as of recording this video, only those fixtures have been kind of postponed, the Arsenal game, the Aston Villa game, but there could be potentially more coming up later today and tomorrow morning. And now going on to my Game Week 20 team, and I wanted to cover the team, give you guys some context before I talk about the transfers. So with the Arsenal game being cancelled, I do only have 10 players potentially for Game Week 20. I'm saying potentially because Game Week 20 I think is going to have massive rotation, and I do still own players like an Adam Armstrong that I think are out of favour in that starting 11. So on the bench, as you guys can see, the Villa game and Arsenal game have completely wrecked my bench. Douglas Luiz, Lacazette, Ben White all don't have a fixture, and then added to that Smith Rowe in my starting 11 also will miss out. Ben Foster's still currently injured, don't really know when he's going to be returning. The kind of estimated date was middle January, so hopefully he does return quite quickly. But as of now, we still do have a fixture with David De Gea against Burnley. So that Burnley fixture for United should potentially be a clean sheet. I think it is a home game, so therefore I think United, if they can keep up the form that they've been in, they're kind of not scoring too many goals but getting clean sheets, I'll be perfectly happy with that, as I don't own Ronaldo and I do own one of their defenders. Really lucky this week to actually own David De Gea, considering most people own Ramsdale, so at least I do have a goalkeeper, and hopefully De Gea can get me some points. Then going on to the defensive backline, I'm actually really happy with the fixtures. I just hope that these options do play. Mentioned the quick turnaround between Game Week 19 and 20. It's yet to be seen how much rotation will be taking place this upcoming game week, but I do hope that Reece James and Alonso both feature, because I do think against Brighton at home, they could keep a clean sheet against them. There are obviously some attacking returns from Reece James and Alonso that could happen. I think both these two options on the weekend look to be in great form, and we're getting quite high up, and that's exactly what I like to see from my FPL defenders. João Cancelo and Trent, I don't think there's too many concerns about them. I think that Man City will keep a strong lineup against Brentford because they do have quite a strong squad, kind of depth in that squad. And I think in Cancelo's position, if Kyle Walker is going to be out yet again, I think Cancelo will be a shoo-in to play. Trent, though, will definitely feature as Liverpool have had Christmas off with that postponement against Leeds on Sunday. So therefore, against Leicester, full strength side, I do believe. And I think Trent, if he can get back to that usual form he has against Leicester, if you guys do remember, I think last season, scored about 2 goals, got a clean sheet if I do recall. Massive haul, could be on the potential here. And if you guys don't own Salah, Trent could be a little bit of a differential captain. But then going on to our midfield department, we only have 3 options to talk about, but I am really confident in all 3 of them. Going to start off with Phil Foden here because I do think coming off the bench against Leicester, I think he will start against Brentford after being kind of benched for 2 games, and I think that punishment for going out has been served. So I'm confident with Phil Foden. Hopefully he does play against the Brentford side that lost last night against Brighton 2-0. So imagine if they're losing to Brighton, what Man City can do to them. But then we still do have our Liverpool double up in midfield after free hitting. We've got Mo Salah and we've got Diego Jota. So conceding 6 goals to Man City and also losing to Liverpool's kind of B team last midweek, I'm expecting Liverpool to put on a good show against Leicester, and therefore the only captain I'll be going for this week is going to be Mo Salah. Now I do understand if you guys don't have Mo Salah because you have used the free transfers, they don't want to use the free hit, and therefore you are looking for some more differential captaincy options. I do think you can go for Diego Jota, great form at the current moment, looks to be scoring in every fixture, so I think he could be a nice safe option, but I probably wouldn't go for the same fixture. I think if you guys are going to be going for another captain, I would go out of that fixture and I would go for someone like a Ronaldo or maybe a Heung-min Son / Harry Kane in their respective fixtures. But as I said, if you want to go kind of safe, maybe cancel out Salah's points, I think that Jota could be a nice option to go for, as I'm pretty sure that he will be playing against Leicester at that centre forward position. And then going on to our two forwards, I've got Antonio here against Watford, and I am expecting him to play if this game does go ahead, just because he played 45 minutes on the weekend against Southampton, and therefore I think that match fitness will improve over these training sessions, and therefore he should be fit to start against them. I do have hopes for Antonio after kind of getting on the scoring bandwagon again against Southampton, and therefore against Watford, hoping for a little bit of a haul to repay me for the patience I've had with him in my team. And then finally, Adam Armstrong, a player that I'm not confident of starting. The only thing I will say is that he was on the bench against West Ham, and therefore with the quick turnaround between fixtures, I do think he could potentially start against Spurs, but that Spurs defense is looking rock solid, and therefore I think that Armstrong, even if he does play, probably won't get me too many points. But as of now, this is my current team with no transfers made. I only have one free transfer after using the Fiat, and I have about 1.7 million in the bank. So I can do a couple of options, and let's get on to those options right now. So going on to my transfer plan for this upcoming game week, and don't really worry about these two graphics, I will explain them right now. So on the left hand side, what I wanted to highlight was the Arsenal fixtures coming up from game week 20 to game week 27. And what I wanted to highlight here is that in game week 25 and game week 27, they will definitely blank in those respective games. The reason for that is that they were playing Chelsea, I think, in game week 25, and Chelsea are traveling to the Club World Cup. And I think in game week 27, they were going to take on Liverpool, and that fixture will be postponed, I think, because of the Carabao Cup game against Liverpool. So on paper, the Arsenal assets have two upcoming blanks, not really that short term, more of a medium term, and therefore with them kind of blanking in game week 20, I do think a hit could be potentially the way to go if you want to take those Arsenal assets out. So you guys saw I have Ben White, I have Lacazette, I have Smith Rowe. I could potentially take all three of those options out because they are blanking in the upcoming game weeks. A hit this week might not be the worst decision in the world. But now on the right hand side, I've gone for Ben Crellin's fixture planner till game week 22, taking into account all the probable and likely double game weeks coming up in game week 21 and 22. So shout out to him for creating this graphic. Go follow him over on Twitter. I always kind of shout him out every single season. The absolute goat of double and blank game weeks, and I really do trust his predictions, and they usually do come right. So the reason I wanted to kind of highlight the right hand side image is that I do think we have to start planning for these upcoming double game weeks as they're right around the corner, and I think we want to get as many double game week players as possible. Now we can use chips. The original plan was to use the Fiat in double game week 22 because it's quite hard to prepare for this upcoming double with only about 4 to 3 free transfers, but I also could consider using a wild card before game week 21. So unfortunately though, we don't have any kind of concrete news, concrete fixtures, concrete schedule for these upcoming game weeks, and therefore all we can do is kind of plan and make our team as flexible and modular as possible. So I have nailed down a couple of options that I could potentially bring in for this upcoming game week 20 with game week 21 and double game week 22 in mind. I think taking a -4 hit looks quite likely this week, considering the fact that Adam Armstrong probably won't start for Southampton, and even if he does, I don't really want him in my starting 11 anyways because that Spurs side is looking quite good defensively, and with the massive rotation that could come in game week 20, I want some bench options that could potentially come on if my starting 11 players don't feature. And therefore I think a likely transfer this week is going to be Smith Rowe and Lacazette both out. I know what you might be saying is that on the screen here you can see that Arsenal have a potential double game week, but that double game week is against Spurs and also Chelsea or Liverpool, and therefore I'm not really liking that double game week too much, to be honest. I think that Arsenal side is very good against the teams they should beat, but against the tougher teams, they haven't been that great this season, and that's why I think shipping these Arsenal assets out when they blank in game week 25 and 27 anyway could be the strategy to kind of go for. So if I did take Smith Rowe out and Lacazette, one move that I could potentially do is bringing in Broja for Lacazette, and with that downgrade, upgrading Smith Rowe to someone like a Heung-min Son. That's a great move on paper because Spurs have some great fixtures leading up to a potential double game week 21 and double game week 22. But unfortunately for Spurs, they will only potentially have a double game week 22, and their fixtures there are Arsenal, Leicester, the most likely, or Burnley/Brighton. And to be honest, all three of those games could be quite high scoring for Spurs. I mean, Leicester look like a great team, can't defend right now to kind of face. Brighton also maybe potentially, and Burnley also haven't been playing that great at the current moment. Heung-min Son are really higher owned assets, so that could be kind of a no-brainer to go for there, but there are some other moves that I want to be a little bit more conservative, kind of absorb as much information as possible and not take too many hits. A transfer that I am potentially looking at is Smith Rowe out and then potentially bringing in Jared Bowen. So if you guys look there, West Ham have a possible game week, which means 40 to 60% probability of Crystal Palace Norwich in game week 21 or potentially Leeds Norwich in game week 22. What an absolute massive double game week there, Leeds Norwich if it does go ahead, but Crystal Palace Norwich isn't too shabby as well. So even though Bowen hasn't had the best of form recently, I do think those double game weeks are too enticing not to bring him in, especially because he is quite cheap. So Smith Rowe Bowen could be a move I go for. The other moves I'm trying to look at is maybe bringing in a United asset. Great fixtures kind of leading up to a potential double game week 21 and double game week 22. So the game week 22 double looks more likely. Aston Villa, Brighton or Brentford. Great fixtures, all of them on paper. And with a Ronaldo that could potentially be banging goals over this festive period, that could definitely be an option I look at. But unfortunately with Ronaldo, I can't bring him in with a straight transfer, and therefore I might have to take a -8 hit to actually bring him in. So what makes that move a lot easier though is taking out Mo Salah game week 21 or game week 22 when he goes to AFCON, and therefore that move looks a lot more likely in game week 21 or 22. So I think CR7 right now will stay in my freer team but not on my kind of concrete team, and I might look to bring him in later on when I ship the Egyptian out. Another move that I am potentially looking at is bringing in a Watford asset, because even though they face West Ham in game week 20, they do have a potential double in 21 and 22. The double in 22 looks particularly enticing: Newcastle, Burnley or Crystal Palace/Wolves. Great fixtures for that double, and therefore Josh King, not a Dennis, because he will be travelling with Nigeria to AFCON. So Josh King could be an option I look at, and I could also downgrade an Adam Armstrong to him because they are around the same price. So a lot of options kind of on paper. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be making any transfers. I know I'll be making them about 5 to 10 minutes before the deadline tomorrow. But as of now, we don't know the postponements that are going to go ahead. And I've kind of listed all the options I potentially am looking at. However, I might have missed the team that potentially looked quite good. I mean, Leicester look great on paper, but I think that's a move that I'll do in game week 21 or 22 because they do face Liverpool in game week 20. So that could be a move that I do, but there are a lot of teams that potentially have doubles. But as I said, we don't have any concrete news as of now, and the fixture is literally up in the air. But I do think Ben Crellin's predictions are usually bang on, and therefore I'll be paying close attention to when they do release the news. And therefore I think the moves we do make this week potentially could be a hit, or it might be a conservative move like a Jared Bowen in for a Smith Rowe, or maybe a Lacazette out for Josh King. Let me know in the comments down below what moves you guys are looking for. I do apologize, there's not really a concrete plan from my point of view, but I have listed all my options here. I'm pretty sure you guys will let me know what you think the best transfers are going to be, especially in the deadline stream coming up tomorrow. That's what we'll probably be making: a -4, a -8, or maybe just one free transfer. But this basically wraps up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did, and subscribe if you're new and have not subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys hopefully for the deadline stream tomorrow, 1 hour before the deadline. Otherwise, hopefully CR7 bangs tonight and Newcastle don't get a goal, so De Gea also gets a clean sheet. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.